Welcome back, everyone. I'm excited about bringing on my next guest because a lot of people out there do pay very high electric bills, and you don't necessarily have to. I have with me Sam Friedberg, and he is of Solarize with Sam. Sam, before we go into, what's the difference between, the pros and the cons and all of this, first I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself and how your business runs.
Sure. So I'm an independent solar consultant. I live in Chandler, Arizona. And what I do is I work for my clients to first assess whether solar is going to be promising for them, because for some houses it is a good fit, for some it's not. And then if it is, I don't work for a specific solar company. I work for my clients and help them find the right solution, right system for their situation, for their setup, and match them with the right solar installer for their goals. And usually for them, it's to have some type of financial benefit with lowering their electric bills.
Oh gosh, yeah, and it's hot out right now, and it's going to be hot. I think it's going to be a long, hot winter. Here in Arizona, I'm serious. I think people can agree. Now, when people talk to you, first of all, do you work, I know you're in Chandler, but do you work statewide? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I do work statewide. I have clients, mostly are in SRP and APS territory.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a few that are down in Tucson. I have some that are in Maricopa and Casa Grande. I can work throughout Arizona, but I specialize in the Phoenix area with the SRP and APS utilities.
So is it a free consultation? Tell us what happens when you go into the house and you sit down with them and start talking. What does that look like?
It's very consultative, and that starts even before I get into the house. So I don't just show up cold and start figuring things out when I get there. A good first step is usually to have a free discovery phone call where I'll learn a little bit about your house. I'll look at some satellite images of your home and your roof. I want to get a sense of the sun exposure that you have, which way your roof is facing, how big your house is. We'll talk about which utility company you have, because the goals and the process for designing a system is different based on which utility someone has. And I wanted the homeowner to get a sense, first of all, do we have a promising situation here where solar is likely to be a good fit for them? And then if it is, I start to gather some information about their electricity usage, maybe from getting a copy of their bill or their usage history, depending on what they're able to access. And I'll usually do an hour to 2 hours of homework on a client's home before I even get into their house, so that when I'm showing up prepared. And it becomes a joint venture between myself and the client to figure out it and really zero in on what the right solution for them is.
Now, everybody has a story. Everybody lives differently, so what your neighbor has and whatever. Also, I want to talk about people who come to the door and start, knocking on doors, and you start talking to them and you get involved. Why is it important for them to speak to someone like you? You've been doing this a long time, and you and your partner have helped a lot of people lower their bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like you work for a solar company, so that would makes it different right there.
Correct. So first of all, I don't do any door knocking. I don't do any cold calling. If people want to talk to me about solar, they reach out to me. A lot of times people find it intrusive when someone comes to knock on their door. And let's face it, most of the people who are out there knocking doors, they're usually, I'm going to say, younger kids that were looking for a sales job. And they may have gotten a 2-week sales training program on how to knock the door and how to get in the door and how to set appointments and how to close sales. They may have gotten very little training, if any, on solar and how it works and how to come up with good solutions for the client. So my background, I actually have a master's degree in electrical engineering. I went to MIT, got an electrical engineering degree there, got a master's at USC.
Well, right there, everybody's like, wow, that's cool.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I probably am the only person who's in residential solar in the Phoenix area who has a master's in electrical engineering, and certainly with an MIT degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what it is that the door knockers are trying to do. And the door knockers are trying to make sales, and they may have been given 1 or 2 guidelines about what to recommend but for the most part, they're really not qualified to make a good recommendation to someone about what they should have on their home.
Right, it really is important that you call somebody and have that, a person who is educated, and you are, but mostly about, I think it was helping other people. It's not just about putting solar panels up there,
Correct.
I think this is what people need to understand. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so it's a holistic solution. So usually what people are looking for is the most cost-effective way to lower their bills. And solar comes to mind for obvious reasons here. We're in one of the sunniest places in the world. And people know that when the sun is hitting their roof, it's putting a whole lot of energy in their house. Usually it's heat in their attic, which just makes the house hotter. And if we can turn some of that sun's energy that's going to hit your house anyway into electricity that you can use in your house, and therefore that's electricity that you don't have to buy from SRP or APS at the rates that they charge, which are constantly increasing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have seen those rate increases in the last year, and more on the way. So the idea there makes sense to people, but often there are cost-effective combinations where if we can have a client spend $1 on cost-effective home efficiency improvements, that allows us to remove $2 worth of solar panels off of their home so that the overall system costs less and gets the same result, we'll make that trade-off for our clients all day.
Now, the phone number to call them direct, it's 480-359-6843. He does free consultations. He would like to do a discovery call with you first, because he's going to do a lot of homework a couple hours before he even walks into your home to sit down and find out whether it's right for you or not. I love that this is the way you're talking, because each person has a different story, and whatever your neighbor has may not be right for you. You live differently.
That's right. It's very customized, and it needs to be that way. And one of the ways people can get in trouble with solar is they think, oh, my neighbor got this, therefore I should get exactly the same thing, or somebody across town got this. And the homes are different, the electricity usage is different, the ages of the home are different, when they use electricity could be different. So all of those things need to be taken into account to come up with a customized solution. And a solution that's properly customized is going to make the clients happy, whereas a solution that's not properly customized can leave people disappointed. And one thing that is really a point of emphasis for me is making sure my clients always end up happy and never end up disappointed.
That phone number to call again, it's 480-359-6843. His website is solarizewithsam.com. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, I want to talk further about what is the number one, not pro, we've talked pro a little bit. I want to know the number one myth that people have when it comes to solar.
The number one myth I believe is out there is that all solar is the same regardless of how it's done. And that's not the case at all. You can't walk into Home Depot and say, I'd like to check out with one standard solar system, please. There is no such thing.
There is none. You're absolutely right. The thing is that you want the right solar system for you. You also want to be able to find out what can you do to reduce, right? Because it does make sense. You said it's a holistic approach, because you want to make sure that what they're doing, you just put the panels up. It could be counter-effective, correct?
It could be not as cost effective as we could make it.
Right.
So it's not a matter of the panels not being effective. It's a matter of there could be a better solution for the client that gets them the same or better results, costing them less, which gets them a better return on their investment, gets them better overall savings.
480-359-6843. It's solarizewithsam.com. Hang tight, we're going to be back in just a minute. We can also just make sure that people understand that the best thing for them to do is to get that consultation with you, have that discovery call, find out exactly where you stand so that he can figure out what's the best solution for you. Again, that phone number is 480-359-6843. It's solarizewithsam.com. Hang tight, we'll be back in just a minute. We're still live here in this room. Did you like what we're doing here?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like it. People can also go to my website and schedule a discovery call directly from my website.
Okay.
So if they would like to schedule a time to be back, they can go to my website and schedule a call.
Okay.
My calendar is on there for people. we'll schedule a discovery call.
Okay.
How long's our break?
It's a couple of minutes, but did you need to do anything?
Sip of water.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
I feel we're doing good.
Uh-huh.
You think so?
Yeah, we're live on the show right now because we're live on Facebook.
Perfect. I'm enjoying it.
Good, I'm glad you are. So for you, when you speak with somebody, how long does it process when you start working with them? Does it take for them to start going solar?
You mean to get the panels up on their house and working? It depends on the city they're in and how long the permits take.
Okay,
Generally, you're looking somewhere between 1 to 3 months, depending on what city you're in and what they need. Right? So some people need a new roof before they go solar, and I can arrange for them to get a new roof and solar done together in the same financing.
okay.
So that may be something to bring up. If you want to ask my thoughts about owned solar versus leased solar, I'm happy to talk about that too.
Okay. These are topics.
Do you have a parent, grandparent, or a loved one who needs some extra help? Senior Helpers has been 16 years helping seniors continue to live at home as they age. Do you have a loved one needing help grocery shopping, meal preparation, or even help taking a shower? Call Senior Helpers today at 480-621-6672. We specialize in helping seniors and dementia, disease, and other chronic illnesses to stay at home. You can find us online at seniorhelpers.com or 480-621-6672.
What if I told you that getting Medicare coverage doesn't have to be a complicated process? Are you tired of being coverage options available to you with Medicare? At Tapestry Insurance Group, let us help by taking the confusion and complication out of your Medicare options so you can get the coverage you need. Some available plans have no additional premium and may have lower out-of-pocket costs. There's never a cost for a consultation from a licensed agent, so don't delay. Contact us at 602-541-7656 or visit tapestryinsurancegroup.com. If we can get you a price that would make you really happy, who do you sell your company? I'm Charles Mack, and I sold my Arizona business with WCI Broker last year.
These are all my people these ads are all the people that come on my
Okay.
show. Yours is in there too, but you had it on before you came
Robert
on.
was on. Yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
I'm happy for that. I mean, if people call him or call me, either way, it all works.
I'm sorry?
If people call his number or call mine, it all
Okay.
works.
Visit WCIBroker.com and pay nothing till WCI turns your business into cash.
So welcome back. We're talking with Sam Friedberg, and he's the owner of Solarize with Sam. You're with Solarize with Sam. I want you to, again, tell everybody a little bit about what makes you different, because that's huge. You had your background, your education, what you bring to the table is huge.
Thank you. So I come in as a consultant for homeowners. My background is in electrical engineering. I have a master's in electrical engineering, and I graduated from MIT. And I work for my clients to find the right system for them if their home is promising for it. My slogan is solar done right and only when it makes sense, because for some people it does make sense, for some it doesn't. And I'll say that one of the ways that people end up most impressed is if they have a house that isn't a good fit for solar, and I let them know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's very rare.
I think that's great that you do, because there's a lot of people out there that, they've gotten a lot of bad taste in their mouth when it comes to solar from the past, a long time ago.
Yeah, it isn't necessarily solar, but it may have been the way that solar was sold to them
Mm-hmm.
or marketed to them. They got a bad taste in their mouth from the solar guy that came to knock on their door.
Mm-hmm.
Or if someone had a bad experience with solar, it's because they bought from someone that wasn't qualified to recommend the right system for them, who didn't give them a proper understanding of what they could expect when they got it. So as long as people understand what they're getting, and they know why they're getting it, and they're doing it eyes wide open, and their expectations are met or exceeded, they're happy. Where people could end up unhappy is if someone doesn't tell them something that they should have told them, and their expectations are not met. That's the only time people end up unhappy with something that they buy.
His phone number again, it's 359-6843. He loves to do discovery calls. You can also check him out on his website, which is solarizewithsam.com. He also has a schedule there, so you can also schedule a discovery call right from the website as well. One thing that you wanted to talk about was the difference between owning a solar system and leasing.
Absolutely. So first of all, I have solar on my house. I've had it for 10 years. When I got solar, the only option that was presented to me was a lease. And what they said was, listen, you're paying this much in your electric bill now, and what we can do is we can replace that with a smaller solar payment plus a much smaller remaining electric bill. And the two bills that you will be paying are going to be less than what you've been paying so far. And you'll have your savings locked in, and that was all true. That actually has worked out exactly as planned that way. So I have solar, and it's worked out well for me. The downside of leasing is that now, 10 years later, after making those payments, I have not built any equity in the system. I'm no closer to owning it or paying it off. And then because it's a 20-year lease, after another 10 years of making payments, they come and take it off my roof because it's not something that I own. So when I met my partner, Robert Pearson, who has been in solar a little longer than I have, he told me that most of the clients that come to him also put no money down when they go solar. Right now, about 80% of people go solar, no money down. About 20% choose to pay cash. As long as someone's credit is decent, we usually can do no money down financing. But what he explained is the same concept can apply, where you can take the money that you're currently spending towards your electric bill now and redirect that towards a smaller solar payment plus a much smaller remaining electric bill. And the sum of those two bills that you will be paying is less than what you've been paying so far. But now, when it's owned, as you're making payments towards it, you actually are getting yourself closer to paying it off and owning it outright. And once someone owns their solar outright, now the savings is just massive once you get there.
Plus, I think you have more write-off with the government, correct?
Absolutely. So owned solar qualifies for federal tax credits, and in Arizona, there's an Arizona state tax credit as well. As long as you're filing and paying income tax, you are eligible for those credits. And that's one of the things I talk to people about, whether you will get the benefit of that tax credit all in 1 year, or whether it might be spread out over a few years. But that's going to depend on someone's individual situation. Leased solar does not get any tax credits. The company that's leasing it to you, they get the tax credits.
Right, so don't lease.
No, leasing only works for people that have such a low income that they don't pay any income tax, and the tax credit wouldn't benefit them.
I have a couple of questions that I'm thinking about right now, okay? Can you do any kind of roof, whether it's flat roof or regular or?
Almost any kind. All the common ones here we can. Flat
Mhm.
roofs we can do, obviously pitch roofs we can do.
Mhm.
I have some projects that have been on metal roofs. There are different ways of mounting the solar panels depending on the type of roof you have. I make sure that all of the solar contractors that I work with provide a roof penetration warranty, where it's going to be clear that the roof is warranted against leaks for 25 years. And it's something that when you understand the process of how it's done, leaks pretty much never happen when it's done properly and professionally.
Now, again, he does discovery calls. He likes to do that where you can call him direct at 480-359-6843. To me, it makes sense for everyone to call and have a consultation to find out whether it's right, and you're right straight out to say whether that's going to be right for them or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's a situation where it could be, sometimes it's very black and white, yes, this will work for you, no, it won't. Sometimes it's a little bit of a gray area where more information is needed. So I have one client who had her system recently installed, and we've had a successful city inspection. It's going to be turned on in the next few days. But after the discovery call, before I was scheduled to go to her house, there's a tree in her front yard. And I wanted to make sure that that tree was not going to put shade on her roof and on her solar panels, because I don't want to have someone get solar where their panels are in the shade of a tree. So
That makes sense.
Right, I made sure that before I even went there, I had her go out and take pictures of her roof at 3 different times of the day to make sure that that tree was not putting any shade on her roof before I would take my time, or hers, for me to go to her house and talk to her about it. And she would say, yeah, I think there's no shade there, and let's send me the pictures, let's just make sure that it's not gonna be coming later at a different time where it could be an issue for you. And once we knew that that was clear, then it made sense for us to move forward, for me to go and meet her and her husband in her house.
That's awesome, because you were real honest and you were caring about that client. What happens if she still wanted solar and said, I'm gonna cut that tree down? Do people do that?
If she's willing to cut the tree and that was the obstacle, that's fine. And now she knows, hey, listen, I gotta keep an eye on it and make sure that if the tree grows more, I'll just trim it.
Right.
If that's the case. But it
I don't think there's a lot of people out there that would go to that extent. I think that's really cool.
Thank you.
And it's important. I think people, and I love the show about this because they can hear from you your passion, but how you care. It sounds like you really care about your clients.
I do. I care about my clients, and I care to make sure that I'm doing the right thing for them, and I feel it's good business as well. Because my business comes from people hearing about me, I want to make sure that everything they're hearing is positive.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about that because there are some pros and cons, to solar. Obviously, the pro is.
Well, the pro is that if your situation is right for it and the system is done well, it's very cost effective. It's a great way to lower your electric bills.
Okay, and then the cons.
The cons are if it's not done right, or if you're not in a good situation for it, then it won't work as well as you hope.
And if you're talked to somebody that is not honest with you, you
It can
can
lead to
get
problems.
problems. Like what?
It can lead to big problems. Number one, it could lead to your electric bills not being as low after going solar as you were expecting them to be.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things to know. So even for people for whom solar is a good fit, I'll never tell someone that it's a no-brainer. You always have to be smart about how the system is being designed, and there are choices to make, and I make sure that they're educated choices that people are making.
Mm-hmm.
Even things down to what solar rate plan will you be on with your utility company after you go solar. And a lot of that is based on people's habits about when they use electricity. It can be based on how many air conditioning units they have in their home, and whether they run them all at the same time or whether they don't run them all at the same time. I walk into a lot of homes where I'll get there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the homeowners have the thermostat set to 82 degrees because they don't want to pay the high on-peak rates that SRP or APS are currently charging them. And a lot of folks go solar not only for the purpose of saving money, but they also want to be more comfortable in the process. And I explain to people how to do that and make sure that the system, the equipment, and the plan is set up so that they can live more comfortably and more economically.
In the ad, it says that you can live at 70 for 80, right?
That can happen.
That can happen. That is so cool. And listen up, everyone. We have a lot of older folks that live here. A lot of them that they have their thermostat turned up, and they shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to live the way we do and have to do our laundry when we, when they tell us we can because we're trying to save money, right?
That's right. And there are certain things where it's, again, up to the homeowner's preference. A lot of them say, yeah, it's no problem for me. I'm happy doing laundry in the evening or doing laundry on the weekend. And if that's the case, we just include that in the plan. If that's not the case, we'll have a different plan. Sometimes people have a home where they've got 4 teenagers in the house who are doing everything all the time, and we need to plan accordingly about what the system will be and what equipment they should have. So it's all about getting the right fit for the person.
That phone number again to call him for that discovery call is 480-359-6843. You can check him out also on his website where you can also make a discovery call there. It's solarizewithsam.com. Again, I'm going to give that number out. If it's you or for someone that you know, 480-359-6843.